Hello everybody, my name is Troublmaker and this is Wargame Red Dragon. This is the video some people have been waiting for. It's the ANZAC, also known as Australia faction. So starting off, their 100 point command is in fact going to be a helicopter command, and it's got this really wonky thing on the top of it. I'm not entirely sure what it is, maybe some sort of weatherology type device for doing the weather, but it's very weird. It could be a radar system of some sort, communication tower, but I digress. This is their 100 point command. They also have 120 point armored command, which, looks pretty good. This is the M577AI. Has a little deployment hatch, but there's actually no units being deployed from this. We have our command tank for the Aussies, which, of course, is really strong, potent camouflage with a particular type of terrain we're dealing with, which is mostly going to be desert area. We have the Rover CP, which is it's a British unit, so it's being shared to the Aussies. We also have the Aslav C, which is completely new. Has a little gun on an MMG nest and fairly armored. Might not see this unit. It doesn't fit a niche enough. Moving on, we have the TAC HQ, which is going to be our infantry command for the Australians. Infantry commands, of course, can be deployed for a number of vehicles. The most popular is probably going to be the helicopter, the UH-1H Huey, because it gives it the mobility to do some nasty things with it. Having said that, there's a better helicopter option here for the Aussies. They have the S-70, which has an anti-infantry gun on it, which can also be used, I guess, for planes and stuff, but not so much. They have 3 different ways to get their supplies base. The Chinook helicopter is shared across all British. We have the Mankati, the Unimog cargo, which is, kind of a modified version of the Canadian cargo. And yes, we have the Mankati 6x6, which is just massive in terms of its size and also the amount of actual supplies it gives, which is ridiculous, 1,700. And of course it comes with the standard FOB, which is not a visible thing because it's not really a thing. Moving on to our infantry choices, we have the Assault Pioneers, which of course are British in origins, and the Aussies will be using these. Napalm, of course, very potently used in Vietnam, so we'll probably see it. And keep in mind, these are all work-in-progress units. And we have the Aslav PC, which is going to be a brand new vehicle to us. And look at all these awesome decals on here. Cook the man some eggs. I agree. There's a little kangaroo here. Very cool. Very, very cool. And of course, we once again have the UE, which is, once again, very cool. It looks like the kangaroo is going to be the symbol for the Aussies, which is appropriate. And of course, here's a new helicopter, the S-70. So another new infantry we have here is the Diggers. And they'll be traveling in this nice little stoli here. The Diggers also have an armored vehicle with better weapons. They have a helicopter, and they have the S-70. Lots of choices here. Now the Diggers, it looks like they're going to be Australia's standard infantry unit. It's a very, very low cost, 10 points. Not the cheapest in the game, but definitely a good bang for the buck. And they have 2 nice weapons here to be using in combat. And of course they have the law for when tanks get too close. And there's also a 1990s version, which once again has the opportunity for being used in, Cat A, Cat B, and Cat C type decks. And, roughly the same thing. 1 extra vehicle for these different Diggers. And of course they have a different image. And also different headdress, it appears. Now we have the Madri, which are an Australian unit. I'm tempted to say they were deployed in World War II. Very, very tempted. But they are very, very neat. They are a slightly more potent fighter. I'm not sure if they'll be cost effective, largely because I haven't seen them in total action. But they are more expensive, they are more potent, and when combined with the Diggers, they can probably do some pretty good damage. And we're seeing once again, roughly the same sorts of vehicles. And then there's their 1990 component, which is all basically the same right now, except for this one here has the Aslav. Which the non-1990 guys will not be able to re-enter later on, which doesn't play too much because most people don't use their infantry back in their vehicles. They usually sack their vehicles later on. So we also have a little Milan squad, borrow weapons once again. Aussies have a lot of infantry and vehicle options, and this could easily be Australia's great specialization here, just by the fact that they have so many vehicles, so many infantries that they can deploy on the field. Moving on to the support options, it's not going to be so heavy, because clearly infantry is their thing. We have work in progress for an M108, which, it's going to be a little bit of an artillery gun with a Browning on it. Hard to say exactly what they intend for this one to fill in niche. It doesn't particularly look like it'll get any use in this game. Over here we have a mortar, the M125AI. Once again, brown is a great camouflage color for the desert. Track Rapier, borrowed off from the British, of course. Commonwealth do share a lot of units with each other. There's a nice little antenna addition here, you notice. Despite this being, you know, not radar based, they have a little bit of a dish here, which is rather interesting. Possibly for communications. And we have the Track Rapier FSA, which is an upgraded version of the Track Rapier. Moving on to the tanks of the Australians, they don't have too many. They did have tons of tanks in World War II, but their potency of tanks has decreased as their role in the war has changed. So they're using different variants of something that we already know about, the Leopard, and they're all cool and unique. They have a nice brown, camouflage, and they have slightly different guns, but a lot very, very similar to other tanks you've seen. And this looks like it's going to be an anti-infantry light vehicle hunter. The Scorpion light tank, roughly the same kind of role, slightly cheaper. And then your Scorpion 90, completely brand new, is totally only for light vehicles. This gun will really not do much damage against anything else other than that. If you can get enough out, they might be able to pincer some heavy armor from the side, but that's about it. Moving on to our recon category, we have Z Squirrel. The Australians do have a good sense of humor. This is a Navy vehicle, and it's got that nice little kangaroo decal on the side. We have our ASLAB 25, nice pure Australian thing. Nice little B here. I'm not sure that means B-22. And, yeah, not too crazy. The ASLAB 5 is another nice little recon. Vehicles, of course, are not too popular, but they might become more popular in Red Dragon. We'll have to see. Nice little hatch for people to enter and exit. Here's your work in progress Bell 206. It's a recon helicopter. It's got a minigun. It can deal with infantry, and that's it. It could also potentially deal with other helicopters that don't have those guns, but you don't want to risk it. We have a little rover, and some variants of this don't have the guns, some do. This one happens to have 2 guns, so instead of costing 20 or 30, it costs 45, which ends up being a pretty good bang for your buck in terms of vehicle recons if people choose to use these. And this is what I'm talking about. This is a nice complete one. I've been complaining a lot about this, how there should be a gunner here and a gunner here, and Australia is totally complete in that regards. We have the gunners in place doing their jobs. And this looks like going to be an infantry hunter with this grenade launcher here. People might use it. I'm not entirely sure. It's a weird niche. Infantry usually don't pop out in the open. Same thing with this vehicle. It's got really cool camo. It's got some nice boomerang patterns, looks like, on this. But once again, I don't think it'll get used. The MRV, it's a little bit better. It's got an anti-vehicle gun, and to me, having this kind of combination of anti-vehicle and anti-infantry is going to be very, very potent in these kind of recons, because you want someone who's going to be able to, in a 1v1 match, hurt somebody. Now here's the Nor Force. I'm not too sure about these guys historically at all. Maybe they were in Iraq, I don't know, because the Australians were, of course, in the war in Iraq, which was 10 years ago. These guys do look like they're going to be a recon unit with some decent anti-tank ability, so they will probably be sneaking around, and they will have all the same kind of variants that we've seen from the Aussie so far, including this really cool ASLAB PC with its kangaroo sign. And we have this other recon squad, which looks like it'll be more for spotting, just given the size and the options that it has. Could also be used for sniping, obviously, but not very heavily specialized like those Nor Force. And they do have very, very good optics. 3 vehicles deployed in it, not too shabby. Now here's another rover. This is the guy I was talking about. You pay the premium for guns, 15 points, you get 2 guns. I would never use this, given the fact that I can get 2 guns if I get one of these. But that's me. Most people would choose this. And of course we have our Ferret Mark II. This is a tank with light rounds, which I've been told is actually in the game, the Ferret. This one's a little bit cool because it has all the signs of the partners of crime, except for Canada, because we don't use any stinking ferrets. Moving into the vehicle category, we have our ASLABs, which seems to be kind of a staple for the Australians. We have our Ferrets, which seemingly are a work in progress. It's got ANZAC, which is some sort of rocket launcher, which means this will probably be one of the better ones in terms of the Ferret line. Very cheap Jeep rocket launchers. I don't know if they'll get used. It's hard to say. These are really weird position plays, and they really do hurt from artillery. It depends on how hard artillery hits. This is an anti-infantry fighter. You know, it looks very similar to a lot of what we've seen so far. The FSV has a very tiny gun on it. Very tiny. It's a vehicle sniper. For 15 points, you can get bring out some units that will take out enemy vehicles. It's kind of worthwhile, but dex limitations make it very unattractive. And of course, there's the Stoli. We've seen them before with the infantry. So we have the Bushranger, which is, you know, specialized for combat in Vietnam and whatnot. It's got, you know, a nice little decal here. The stars. Australia? That doesn't sound right. That doesn't sound right at all. But yes, Australia, I'm pretty sure has stars. And brand new. It has rocket pods. It's very similar to other vehicles we've seen. The Chinook is massive. It's got a minigun. It carries infantry, obviously. And there's even like a little arrow here. It puts like a footprint like, okay, now you're going to put your foot right here. That's a joke, of course. Oh, this is kind of neat. These are actually dangerous hazard instructions on the side. Cool details there. Let's see, S20, that's, yeah, S70, sorry. And this is, you know, an Australia-specific unit. It's got cool brown camouflage and lots of cool glass. Look at this glass. So cool. Going into the air, people are probably wondering, what does Australia have? Well, apparently they have Skyhawks, which is scary. And there's a little Kiwi on there, which might... Right, 'cause this isn't just Australia. This is Australia and New Zealand. Oh, I just facepalmed. Yes, ANZAC, Australia and New Zealand. Derp, 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 Australia and New Zealand. Alright. And what are the Kiwis bringing us? A4K Kahu, which is totally new. We have our Backstrike Master, which is a kind of a bomber. The Kiwis loving their Air Force, apparently. Another bomber from the Kiwis. An F-11CS bomber. Only bomber though, so this is actually a little more valuable because it can reload much faster because it's not worrying about other ammo types. There's a Phantom. This is going to be your air superiority fighter of choice. Ooh, so good. We have the Hornet, another air superiority fighter, but this one, I'm sorry, is a bomber that can fight air superiority. It's a really weird mix. It can take out guys like Skyhawks, but you shouldn't bring them against Phantoms. We have a Mirage 1110A, which could mean Alpha, which is what we're in right now, basically. An Australian fighter, pretty nice looking camouflage options, but this is for the sky, so actually this is terrible. People are going to see this very easily. Fun fact about airplanes, the bottom of the plane is painted like the sky usually. And the reason is that if there's somebody below you, you're slightly camouflaged. Now in a world of radar and stuff, it's less vital, but it is a cool fact that they do that. And of course, we do have our Mirage 1110F, which is another air superiority fighter. Much cooler looking, if I might add. It's like a blue tiger. Can I say that? A blue tiger. Moving on to our marine category, we have a boat. Yes, not just any boat. We have the Fremantle now. Nope, it has mortars. It actually has a pretty ridiculous supply as well. So these become very, very effective. Because you can spam a lot of these guys out and spam mortars for a long time and get supplied pretty easily. We do have some vehicles in here that will be submersible. We have our TAC HQ, which are our infantry HQ guys. We have our ASLAB 25, going to be purchasable here. Lots of tows. The ASLAB PC. You know, a lot of units we've seen so far. Not a lot of differences here. And then we go and we got the F-11G, which is going to have the Harpoon, which is radar-based missiles, and it's our sea fighter. It'll be used for wiping out enemy ships very well. Very well indeed. Not too much left in here to look at. And actually, this Red Eye here, I'm pretty sure they didn't have that in other tabs. So Red Eye and this RBS-70 is actually only available in Marine. So that's a rather interesting difference. And then we actually have these Sassers, which are, once again, only available in Marines and can only be deployed with these Oslot PCs. So just nice ways to fatten your deck up. And yeah, that's basically it. The big one to talk about is going to be this Fremantle. It's a command ship. It's not going to be pretty expensive. It's going to be 100 points. It has a mortar on it, which means that it's going to be able to do a lot of damage from the distance. And it's not a big juggernaut like the other ones. So as far as Australia in this, they're going to have to really play defensively, lots of anti-air units when deploying these Fremantles, because these guys will just get completely rocked by air bombers and other ships. So yeah, that's Australia in a nutshell. Australia and New Zealand, the ANZAC forces. And yeah, next up will be the Japanese, which will have a lot of crazy units. See you guys then.